It's recording.
On Skype? Is it on
Yes.
Skype?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And okay. Okay. Okay, very good. So everything is under control. This class is being recorded. At the end, you will have a chance to make it public or private. If you make it public, other students can watch your performance. If you make it private, just you.
Okay.
Okay, so at the end, you decide. We're going to ask you this question again. So there's a link, just in case if you want to follow the questions. The first link corresponds to the test. And I will ask you some questions there. I want you to answer as if we were taking the real exam.
All right.
Okay. So what kind of place is your hometown?
Salavat. Salavat city is my hometown.
Tell me about the most interesting place in your hometown.
Well, I suppose for me as an engineer, the most interesting place in my hometown is our chemical factory, because the size of our chemical factory is the same as the size of my city, of my hometown. Well, it's also interesting place because when you go there at night, you'll see lots of lights. It looks like small Las Vegas for me, and a lot of people work in that factory.
Thank you. Okay, so as for the first question, my feedback, the answer was too short. 2 or 3 sentences will do, or would do. As for the second question, I always recommend to paraphrase the question. So if they asked you, what's the most interesting place? If it is paraphrasable, if it's possible to say the same thing with different words, do it. So instead of answering the most interesting place, then say something else, paraphrase it. That's my suggestion. Question 3. What changes would you like to make to your hometown?
Changes which I'm going to do for my hometown. Well, personally, I would recommend to add maybe a metro station in my hometown. It would be nice, because all of major cities in our country and in the world have a metro station. Also, an airport for the airplanes would be nice as well. For the airplane would be nice as well, because the airport is the gate to the city. And maybe I would also add up some malls, or also a park. Yeah, a park for a nice walk and for jogging and for cycling is a great place to have a conversation and to have a first date with your friend.
My suggestion for this answer, use stronger words instead of nice, great. Try some more, let's say, a richer vocabulary. What else did you said to add up some places. Remember, add up has another meaning. It's a phrasal verb. It means to make sense. So that information adds up. That information makes sense. That's the meaning of this phrasal verb. Next, okay, now let's move on to talk about animals. What kinds of animals are popular pets in your country?
Animals which are popular in my country. It's 100% dogs and cats are the most popular animals in my country. Also, parrots are nice as well. Frankly said, I have a cat, but I would like to have a dog, because dog is much more intelligent animal for me. That creature, it can win a dog, and with a dog you feel more safe. Also, such mammal as a dog is nice because you can have a walk with it, and it is impossible to have a walk with a cat because it gets scary from other people or animals.
Okay, a dog gets scared. You said something in the beginning, 100%
Yeah.
cats and dogs. So okay, it's understandable, but it's not native. Maybe certainly you have to
So,
use a different construction right there. And you had another mistake, then I just forgot. Okay, number two, safer maybe. Ah, yes, you said more safe, try safer.
safer. Oh,
Number two, yes. How are animals in your country used for work?
the way animals in my country used for work. Well, I have one example. It is the animal is called a horse. So horses are used for work in the village or at the countryside, I suppose. For instance, uh, people who don't have any vehicles, they put horses or their own horse in a trolley or yeah in a trolley. They use it as a vehicle. They
Correct.
also use horses to pull pledges in the field.
Excellent. So you used some rich vocabulary right there when you gave some details. That's great for your answer. I cannot see you, okay? So perhaps have to turn off your cam
Yeah,
on skying.
let me figure out. I don't know
Yes.
why
Yes.
I can turn it on.
And there is a button there. There's a
Yeah,
button that you can
there's a button.
press on Skype.
I know. This one is down there to turn it on, but it says like it can't find my video cam, but I'm using a laptop, the same laptop, so it's supposed to open.
No. Okay. If you want, we can carry on this way, but I'm just letting you know that you are not visible.
We can turn it off and then turn it on again. I mean,
But
I
if
don't.
you do this, the recording will stop.
Okay.
That's the problem.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's carry on this way.
Okay.
Question three. Are there any animals in your country that have special significance?
Animals with special significance at my place. All right. Yeah, there is one. Actually, it is a bear. Even if a bear is not a domestic animal. Why the bear is so significant to my country is because he's like kind of native animal. He's like a symbol of my country. A bear also has some kind of unique features, which is also symbolic for my country, because Bashkortostan, the area where I live, is situated in Ural Mountains, and those mountains there are exploited by bears. Lots of them who lives in those areas. Bears also consume honey, and people in my area they love to make honey with bees. In those bees houses. I'm not sure how it's called, but also my countryside was
So probably you are referring to a hive of bees, artificial
yeah.
hive.
Yeah.
What is good about your answer that when you mention a foreign word, which is the region where you live, you gave some explanation. That's good. What was bad about your answer is that you use he to refer
The animal, yeah.
To an animal, yes. Let's talk about travel. How easy is it to travel in your country?
Mhm. The simplicity of traveling in my country. Well, Russia is quite a big and huge country, and it's the biggest country in the world, as it appears. And it's quite not easy actually to travel around Russia. Well, firstly, Russia is very uh, mm, is very famous for its bad roads. All roads are quite terrible in Russia, except maybe Moscow and St. Petersburg. So, if you want to travel, I would personally recommend you to use an airplane, but to go to Moscow, and from Moscow city, you have to travel to another airport by plane. If you would like to use a boat, like some kind of sea boat, it is also nice, but it is possible to travel only by North Sea and by North Atlantic Ocean. So it also takes a lot of time to travel. You can also travel by train because Russia has a lot of trails for train, but it's kind of hard because it takes too much time to travel. And lots of people who travel by train, they get drunk in train because
Good, good to
because
know.
it's nothing to do when you go in long distances. Like for
Uh,
instance, if you go from Khabarovsk to Moscow, it takes you about a week to travel by train.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so probably the word you want to know is railroad. It's
Railroad.
like the street of the trains.
Mm.
Yes, yes. Okay. What form of transport is the most popular?
Mm, the most popular form of transport in Russia is a car. Traveling by car is very easy way. Uh, why it is so popular? Because when you travel by car, you have your own car. You can go anywhere. You can make any stop, and you can stop whatever you want, except some restricted areas. You also feel authentic in your own car. You can listen to your own music. You can go any road you want, so you can have your original pathway traveling by this vehicle. But
Okay, so when in the beginning you should have said an easy, and you said authentic. You can be authentic in the car. So that's what I understood, and if understood correctly, it's a strange sentence to understand. It's difficult. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say. Number three.
mhm.
Are there any parts of your country that are difficult to travel to?
Yeah, for sure. The most difficult part to travel in Russia is Kamchatka, because Kamchatka is not connected by railroad or just a regular road for vehicles to a mainland. Kamchatka is not an island; it's just half island, and the only there are only two ways to go to Kamchatka. One is by sea or by ocean, and second one is by airplane. So when you come to Kamchatka, you feel like you go to in a time machine because the whole region is like you travel to 1990s or like in 2000s. and that region is actually quite big, and it's also flooded with bears and wildlife. It's a nice place to visit. You feel yourself also like you visited another planet, because the landscapes are exotic and very effective.
So let's make an assessment for part one. There's a screenshot with some information there. For the first part regarding fluency, talking at length, except for the first question, everything else was fine. Talking without pause or hesitations. Yes, you had some pauses, some hesitations, but not many. But it's definitely not a 9. Talking without self-corrections, you did self-correct at times, but not many times. Able to be understood, yes, 99% of the time. Using linking devices, yes, you are good at this one also. Okay, lexical resource. So probably this is your weakest spot. Use a range of words and paraphrasing, no, rarely. Like, so you basically orbit around the array of words you already know, and you rarely paraphrase. Using collocations, yes. Using less common vocabulary, rarely, and avoiding errors. Okay, so this one was your weakest spot regarding your speaking for the first part. Grammar range and accuracy. I don't think you had grammar, lots of grammar issues. But let's see. Using a range of sentence structure, avoiding errors, using a range of grammar tenses. Yes, this one probably was good. Pronunciation, able to be understood. Yes, easy. Able to use intonation, easy. You are good at this one. Accent, does not know. Accurate word and sound pronunciation, yes. So we didn't have problems. Probably your best one among those four is pronunciation. So let me see your score for this part. Your fluency and lexical resource were your major problems here that they should be worked on. Okay, your final score, you did not use idioms, slang, phrasal verbs, some more sophisticated vocabulary. So there's no way it can be a 7 because this is part of the requirement. Your final score here would be something like 6.5 for this part. Of course, there are other two parts. So let me just take note of this one, and let's move on to part 2. You have the question there. Describe an environmental problem that has occurred in your country. You should say the cause of the problem, what effect it has had on your country, the steps, if any, that have been taken to solve this, and explain why you think this problem is so important to solve. You got 1 minute to prepare, then you have to speak up to 2 minutes. I will interrupt you after that. Okay, so 1 minute, you can start now to prepare. You can start speaking now.
So I would like to talk about Chernobyl's nuclear disaster, which have happened in 1986 at April. It actually happened in USSR, in Ukraine. The city is called Chernobyl, and so when that disaster happened, it took a lot of casualties, and there was a blast which with the radiation around the world, and with that disaster, the whole USSR have collapsed, and even Gorbachev said that when Chernobyl USSR suffered and collapsed after a few years. So the major problem is still there. The radiation is still inside the reactor, but with the help of the global world and with other nations like United Nations and with the help with America, USSR was able to cover the reactor with a special concrete walls, which is called sarcophagus, and also USSR sent a lot of people to demolish debris and to collect all nuclear parts and to send it to special cases to make the contamination of the nuclear parts and nuclear chemicals.
Okay, time's up. Time's up. So I took some notes of some mistakes.
Yeah.
For example, I noted that you confuse present perfect with simple past. Simple past is an action that happened in the past, finished in the past, in a determined moment in the past. So this is the typical case of this explosion, this incident. It happened in the past, finished in the past, in a specific moment in the past, I believe in 1987. Okay, so it's done. It cannot be present perfect because it's not going, this explosion is not continuing up to the present time.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so another point, I can be wrong. I'm going to discuss this with you now. You were supposed to mention all those 4 items. The first is the cause of the problem. Yes, you did. What effect it has had on your country? Yes, but I'm not sure if you were clear on this one because it took place in Chernobyl, and that is in Ukraine. Ukraine is not Russia. And so to me, it was not kind of clear this linkage between Russia.
Okay.
Right? But maybe not Russia. But anyway, let's consider that this is done. This step, if any, that have been taken to solve this, you were mentioning about depolluting, cleaning the environment, something like this, or not?
Yeah, cleanup team. Yeah, which collected all nuclear radiation particles.
And the last item, explain why you think this problem is so important. Maybe you forgot this one.
Yeah, I forgot about this one. Yeah.
You didn't give your opinion on this one. Okay, so yes. If you take a look at that table, your score would be something like 6 for this one. Now let's go for questions for part 3. Tell me about some of the environmental problems that are affecting countries these days.
Okay. Problems in the environment, which affects countries around the countries and nations. Well, I suppose the main environmental problem, which is very famous, is global warming. This problem is very popular because of of nations, a lot of people in different nations, they create protests and lots of actions to put attention of the government on this problem. Well, it happens that the statistics shows that our climate is changing, and the average temperature goes up all around the world. Even also, the climate change so rapidly that ices in Antarctica and also in the North Pole are melting. So ice coverage, the square space of ice coverage is decreasing, and with that climate change, lots of animals are dying because the environment is changing. Their food is getting scarce, and also animals could not survive some higher temperatures, which they haven't used to.
Okay, what is good about this answer? Details. Again, details is important because the more details you give, the more you gamble towards a higher score or a lower score. So it's like a gamble, like a casino.
Okay.
The word scarce does not exist, but you have to say scarce, yes, like rare. The food is getting scarce, right? So it's okay. So it's not a verb. That's why you don't use D at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go for the next question now. Question 2. Do you think that governments around the world are doing enough to tackle the problems?
My opinion about nations arrangement and meetings to handle problems. Personally, I suppose nations are not very friendly to each other, and also some problems like a war in Syria are not dealt with nations, because lots of governments, they just close their eyes to that problem of Syria. Only Turkey decided to interrupt a war in Syria, because a lot of immigrants, a lot of people who used to live in Syria went to Turkey, and Turkey have to deal up with all these immigrants.
Thank you. Okay, they will cut you off when the answer is too long. You said not dealt with a problem. You should have said didn't deal. Yeah, that's it. Okay, again, richness of details is really great. It's when it's a good gamble. You are performing well in this part. 3. Why do some people not consider environmental problems to be serious?
Ignorance, some people's ignorance to environmental problems. Well, I suppose that's because lots of people are busy with their lives and lifestyles. People are having lots of problems, and also there is a consideration which they have that they can't change anything in the world except their own life. So that's why many people decide not to interrupt into nations' problems. And for instance, in Russia, Russian citizens, they usually don't go to any of meetings or to any kind of protests, because the reason one, our nation is very
Yes, so thank you. They would cut you off. My suggestion, what is missing? This is also missing other parts. When you get into a topic that you are not acquainted with, you sometimes stop to think for too long. So more automated responses would improve your fluency score. So you have to work on more chunks and memorized sentences maybe that could help you. Okay. Yeah, and you have to learn how to lie. We more or less address this. We have addressed this topic before, correct or not?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, we spoke about this. Yes, you have to learn how to lie. Then it will diminish the time you need to think about things because you're lying. Now we'll look at environmental problems and disasters caused by humans. Question one: what do you consider to be the world's worst environmental disaster caused by humans?
The world's worst disaster caused by humans, in my opinion. Well, I would like to start with Chernobyl again, because it's this disaster around, it says around several 100,000 of people took place to clean up that reactor and all that nuclear parts. Also, all these people, they gathered to create that shelter around the disaster site. And when that disaster happened, like a big region, like half part of Ukraine, was covered with radiation. And after around 30 years, when it happened more than 30 years, it happened more than 30 years ago, still the region is contaminated with radiation. And even in Sweden or in the United Kingdom, scientists have found particles from that nuclear blast. And
Okay, thank you. Why do you think environmental disasters caused by humans happen?
Well, the environmental disasters happens, I suppose, used to happen every time in our past time. And nowadays they happen very rare and occasionally. Well, the main reason of it, I suppose, is our lack of experience, and sometimes it also happens because some companies decide to not to invest in technology, in new ways to improve in this industry. And also people who serve in those companies where happen disasters, they used to work not very hard and maybe to give up their work. And so that may be the main reason of it.
Three, do you think there will be more environmental disasters caused by humans in the future?
Yeah, for sure. It's very sad to say, but definitely there would be more disasters, because I believe in the law of Murphy. It says If it's going to happen, it is going to happen. So also take instance Russia as an example. In Russia, we have lots of heritage which we have from in Soviet Union, and lots of our power plants and pipes are quite old, and our government invests money to demolish it or to repair some of the plants and some of the industrial facilities, but those factories which are not belong to government, which are belong to private companies, usually are in very poor situation, and the authority don't care about it, and problems occur quite occasionally.
Yes, authorities, yes, don't care. Yes, exactly. Okay, so you probably noted that except for the fluency, maybe because the topic was more difficult, the fluency was not good when comparing to other the previous ones. But the quality of vocabulary, you use phrasal verbs, you use more sophisticated vocabulary. So you kind of counterbalanced this with more rich vocabulary and more quality. You provided more quality, you delivered more quality here, except for the fluency, except for this part. Okay, I would put you on a 7 for this one. Was a bit better than the first part, and your final score, the average would be like a 6.5. Are you happy with a 6.5 or not? Do you need more for your exam?
Yes, of course I need more. I need around 7. I need 7 at least. Yeah.
Our target 7.5. Yes. Okay.
Yes, 7.5. Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah.
Great as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Before we stop recording, would you like to make this video public for other students to watch you, or you prefer to keep it private?
Yeah. It's I'm okay if it's public.
Yeah, okay. And the video will be available for you as well, so you can watch yourself and compare the results through time.
All right.